He came last night in my dream again, a magic and mysterious man. Riding on the wind, I could hear a melody. He was dressed in a long and silver coat, trimmed in jewels and laced with like a bird high above the stony ground. I could see his eyes shine through the clouds, and the sun's coming out, yeah, and the sun's coming out. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In my dream the sun's coming out.
Once again, I want to thank you all for coming today. This is Blue Apples, a search for the lost Stargate artifacts of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, but also a whole lot of other people too. This is the new cover of my book, Blue Apples. It was an interpretation done by the artist Dana Augustine. And I just love what Dana is doing with my work. In fact, we're collaborating now to really flesh out the Stargate story of the gods and work it into the book covers, but also into the lecture material too. So I'm very excited about this possibility here of bringing these stories to life for you and with you. What we have in this depiction here is the goddess. She holds 3 blue orbs in her hands. Those are the blue apples. And what are the blue apples? That is the question, and it is a very profound and very important question. Beside her, you see the moon as well as the earth. Now, I could give a 3-hour lecture just about the relationship between this goddess and the moon. Suffice it to say is that that moon is her ark. According to Sumerian mythology interpreted by Zecharia Sitchin and others, there was once a terrible celestial cataclysm. A former planet in our solar system called Mary, or Tiamat, was involved in a celestial confrontation with another planet. As a consequence of this confrontation, Tiamat was split in half. One half of the planet became the asteroid belt. The other half of the planet became Earth. And as Mr. Sitchin says, Earth is Tiamat reincarnated. Just before this terrible cataclysm, there were 11 satellites that were ejected from Tiamat. 10 larger ones, 1 smaller one, our moon. From this perspective, the moon emerges as some form of an ark, as a vessel into which the seeds of life were placed from this former planet to be brought to life once again on the new planet, Earth. Behind this goddess is a bullseye. This bullseye trails off into a tunnel of light into a distant point that is a Stargate or a wormhole. On her other shoulder is her pillar, the pillar of life, the tree of life that actually opens the Stargate or the wormhole. So we're going to spend the next several hours bringing this picture to life, talking about this goddess, talking about her blue apples and her pillar. What are the blue apples? Well, the image I want to anchor in your mind to begin is the image that the blue apples are actually a cluster of grapes. Once you make that connection and begin to understand that the blue apples are a cluster of grapes, it begins to open up this story and gives you a key symbol with which to pry open the ancient mysteries. This happens to be an alchemical depiction where the alchemists would stare at this picture for hours, absorbing the energy of it, absorbing the power. The focal point was the god-goddess standing with a ray of sun or stars emerging from it and holding a cluster of grapes, the symbol for the mysteries. The cluster of grapes, we are told by the alchemists, is actually representative of the center of our Milky Way galaxy. This is a phenomenal depiction, an infrared depiction of our Milky Way galaxy provided by NASA's Cosmic Background Explorer project, the COBE project. The center of our Milky Way galaxy is this area right here, which is a center that has hundreds of millions of stars. Physicists say that there is a black hole that occupies the center of our Milky Way, and there's also a complementary theoretical white hole, a gusher of cosmic energy. We're way out here on the Orion arm of our Milky Way galaxy. All the good stuff we want is in the center of the galaxy. But there's no bridge, no rope, no ladder, no apparent way for us to get from here back to here. By the way, the ancient shamanic tradition teaches us that our souls came from this center of our Milky Way galaxy. That center was called Tula. Tula is a Sanskrit word that means balance. I find it most striking that the astrological sign for Libra, which is the symbol for balance, perfectly matches or mirrors the shape of our Milky Way galaxy. And in my book, The Healing Sun Code, I describe how the ancients apparently had knowledge of the Milky Way galaxy, of our origins in the center of this place, and that there is an entire symbol system or symbol code based upon knowledge and awareness of the Milky Way galaxy. And I cite this as one of those symbols. Tula, of course, has many variations. It's the TLA significator letters that are important in the word. From Tula, we get such words as Tala. But we know from the Japanese people that the letters L and the letters R are interchangeable. Tala or Tula becomes Tara. Tara means compassion, enlightenment. Tara is phonetically similar to terror or terror. How many have heard President Bush say, hey, we're fighting a war on Tara? And people think he's just talking with a Texas accent. Well, maybe. But it demonstrates the phonetic similarity between the words and the complementary aspect to it. I, of course, along with everybody else, was alarmed after the events of 9/11 when suddenly the word terror is implanted in our consciousness in a massive way. This is like a pillar, and we are all dogs chained to that pillar. We will not take one step forward as a species unless we get over terror. But we're fighting terror with what? More terror. Guess what the outcome's going to be? Terror. The only way that we're going to overcome terror is with terra, compassion and enlightenment. I suggest that the only way that we can win this is to take the $1 trillion that we're going to spend on the war on terror over the coming years and spend it on compassion and enlightenment instead. But the bottom line here is that how did this happen? How is it that the cosmic mind synchronizes in this way? The Mayans tell us that in 2012, our sun and solar system will align with the center of our Milky Way galaxy, the place of Tara, the place of enlightenment, but also the place of terror. And at this moment, it appears we have made the choice to align ourselves with terror, and we are making a big mistake. Because if we pursue this course, it will ultimately lead to the extinction of our species. And that's part of the point here. Because we are at that point where we are ready to step into the stars, and the stars aren't ready for us if we're going to come out there with a warlike posture. In fact, in December 2012, the Mayans tell us that with this alignment, the galactic alignment, a great rift will open from the center of our Milky Way galaxy, and a ladder will emerge. From out of this ladder will emerge a serpent rope. And from the serpent rope will emerge the god of 9 winds. John Major Jenkins, who's one of the penultimate Mayan scholars, says that the god of 9 winds is actually Quetzalcoatl, whose title is the King of Tula. What I did in my research was take out the archaic term serpent rope and insert the more modern technological term wormhole. And what this says to me is that in December 2012, with the alignment of our sun and solar system with the Milky Way galaxy, is that a wormhole will open. The king of Tula, the king of the center of our Milky Way galaxy, will emerge through this wormhole and deliver a teaching, an enlightenment teaching. Wormholes are tunnels that connect 2 areas of space. We could enter a wormhole on this side and come right out on the other side as if there was nothing in between. I'm going to suggest to you that we are right now on the verge of having the ability to open stargates and wormholes ourselves. Physicists tell us we can do this. As a consequence, we're getting ready to play Powerball with the universe. We have the secrets of the blue apples, the secrets of the stargates and wormholes in our hands. We stand with one foot in a new Atlantis, where we are able to enter these wormholes and become a wormhole traveling civilization. But there's going to have to be an awful lot of changes within ourselves that are undergone preparatory to that experience. When you look up the word wormhole on the internet, you're going to find such images as this. Fantastic depictions of tunnels. This is actually a time tunnel that appeared as a crop circle in 1995. The basic symbol for wormholes throughout myth and art is the bullseye, the concentric circles. The concentric two-dimensional circles is a representation of a three-dimensional tunnel. If you were to show this particular symbol to a Hopi elder, he would readily identify that symbol, and he would say, that is the mark or sign of the Hopi Messiah, who they called Masao. Masao, according to the Hopi researcher Frank Waters, is the same as the Jewish Messiah. The two words are phonetically similar, therefore interchangeable. Interestingly, Masao, or the Messiah, met the Hopi when their world came out of balance, came out of Tula. He led the Hopi through 4 migrations, depicted here as these 4 Gs. They came out the other end and they were at Earth. If you were to ask a Mayan elder what the letter G represents, he would tell you that the letter G represents the galaxy. When we go back and apply that to the Hopi mythology, does it say that when their original world came out of balance, they went through 4 different galaxies before they came to Earth? It's quite possible. Here is a depiction of the Lord of the Mist from Navajo country, and the Lord of the Mist here is standing before the bullseye, or the concentric circles. If you watched the news this morning in Los Angeles, you saw this. This is the symbol for the earthquake and ground zero as the earthquake fans out. Well, a Stargate is sort of a starquake, if you will. Enormous amounts of energy are brought to bear at a single point, and the gateway or the wormhole opens. The Lord of the Mist is the Lord of the Stargate or the wormhole. And mist, of course, is short for mystery. And I believe that stargates and wormholes are at the center of all the mysteries. We apparently once had a gate that opened, and it was in a place called Eden. Adam and Eve transgressed the Hebrew God Yahweh. He slammed the door shut, slammed the gate, and he posted 2 guardians at either side of the gate. This is a phenomenal depiction of the gate of Eden, which we can readily identify from my perspective as a stargate or a wormhole. For whatever reason, God decided we weren't good enough to be wormhole traveling citizens any longer, and he parked us on this desolate planet, parked way out in the middle of nowhere in our Milky Way galaxy. But along comes another figure called the Messiah, Jesus, Iesus Christos, who is depicted here by the great Saint Hildegard of Bingen, standing before his stargate or his wormhole, and he is blue. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Blue Apples is Jesus' nickname in heaven, but it just might be. Stargates or wormholes are also called Schwarzschild wormholes, and I find it fascinating that they depict the throat of the wormhole as the familiar Vesica Pisces, or the almond shape. Oh, why do they have Jesus coming out of the same shape at Chartres Cathedral in France? I believe, from my perspective, that it's a signal, a point, a sign that when he spent 3 days in the belly of the fish, which is what this symbol is thought to represent, is that he actually spent 3 days in the belly of the wormhole. And then when the Bible and other myth and scripture talks about beings that go into the fish, go into the gateway, they are actually talking about stargates or wormholes. Jesus said, "I am the door." What did he mean? I believe he meant he literally was the door, but not him individually.